I first began to realize the full extent of memory loss in Alzheimer's dementia when I went for coffee with Sandy, an old relative of mine. And when we got to the coffee shop and his coffee came, he grabbed for the salt shaker and began to salt his coffee because this brilliant Ivy League graduate couldn't remember which one of the white crystals on the table were the sweet ones. And it got much worse than that. At one point, the only person that he recognized was his wife, who had to sleep with a rope around his waist and her wrist in order to prevent him from wandering out of the house in the middle of the night. So it's no wonder to me that among older adults, their most feared medical condition is memory loss. But maybe there's some hope for your memory to be found in your senses. Here are your senses. There's vision, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. And I want you to think of which one of these you would be most willing to give up, which was your least important sense. And if you're like most people, you will have selected the sense of smell. Well, I'm a neuroscientist who studies the sense of smell, and I'd like to talk to you about its potential importance for you. Well, my guess is that most of you have bathed or showered this morning, and that's really too bad. And the reason is that the memory centers of your brain require a great deal of odor stimulation, also called olfactory stimulation, in order to maintain their health to be able to support memory formation. Now, the other senses also can contribute to the health of these memory centers, but they have to take the brain's side streets in order to get to those centers, whereas the olfactory sense has the only direct superhighway that goes right into the memory centers and consequently has a great deal more impact on them. Unfortunately, in our modern affluent world, we just don't get very much odor stimulation. Not only that, but our olfactory system can be damaged by a whole set of circumstances that can occur over the course of your lifetime. For example, exposure to toxins, exposure to air pollution, exposure to smoking, chronic stress in childhood, chronic stuffed nose, a wide variety of medications, head trauma, and menopause. All of these things can negatively impact your olfactory system, and they also can cause memory loss. Yes, even a chronically stuffed nose can do that. Over the course of your lifetime, these experiences add up to the point that by the age of 60, your olfactory ability and your memory ability start to go down hand in hand, and they continue to go down throughout the rest of your life. Now, when people lose their olfactory ability gradually, as the case in aging, most people don't even realize that they're losing that system. On the other hand, when people lose it rapidly, what happens is that everybody recognizes it. And you may have had this experience when you contracted COVID-19. Researchers from Oxford University looked at the brains of hundreds of individuals who had recovered from COVID-19, a mild case of COVID-19, months before, and they found continuing damage to the olfactory superhighway going into the memory centers of the brain. They also found continuing memory loss, and others have found that they could predict the extent of the memory loss from the severity of the olfactory loss. Not only that, the olfactory superhighway turns out to be the first part of the brain that goes south in Alzheimer's disease, and there's been a predicted increase in Alzheimer's disease over the course of the pandemic. In fact, there's an intimate connection between olfaction and Alzheimer's disease. Olfaction is the first symptom of Alzheimer's disease. You can actually predict which among older adults will get mild cognitive impairment, which is the first step on the road to dementia, based on their ability to smell things. You can predict which one of the individuals who has mild cognitive impairment will descend into Alzheimer's disease based on their ability to smell things. And among those individuals, you can predict which ones will descend rapidly into their dementia. And it's not just Alzheimer's disease that's associated with olfactory loss. All forms of dementia are associated with olfactory loss. Frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, semantic dementia, and vascular dementia, all of those have olfactory loss. And in fact, the diseases where the terminal phases can accompany dementia in AIDS, alcoholism, schizophrenia, and Parkinson's disease, all of those are accompanied by olfactory loss. In fact, virtually all neurological and psychiatric disorders are accompanied by olfactory loss. I've counted 68 of them, and that includes anorexia, anxiety, ADHD, depression, epilepsy, and stroke, all of them. And you know the diseases that are most likely to kill you? Heart disease and cancer, along with liver disease, lung disease, and kidney disease, all of those are accompanied by olfactory loss. So it should be no surprise that there are now 7 major studies that show that the all-cause mortality, that is, whether you live or whether you die for any reason, can be predicted by your ability to smell things. So, if decreasing olfactory stimulation impairs memory, can increasing olfactory stimulation improve memory? The answer is yes. Right? If you give people olfactory enrichment, multiple odors on a regular basis, both their memory and the memory centers of the brain improve greatly. I'll tell you about 3 of these. The first one comes from the University of Ottawa. They looked at the brains of young adults who were studying to be professional wine tasters, actually professional wine smellers. And the way that they train is that they sniff dozens of odors a day for months in order to be able to discern the odors that come off of fine wine. And after months of doing this kind of stimulation, a critical memory area in the brain greatly increased in size. We've done a study in which we've exposed older adults to olfactory enrichment while they were sleeping. And after 6 months, we found that there was a 226% better memory in those that have received olfactory enrichment compared to those who didn't receive that kind of stimulation. And to my knowledge, that's the largest improvement in memory that's ever been reported for this group. In addition, we found that a memory pathway in the brain improved to a similar extent. But the most dramatic finding comes from Namseol University in Korea. They gave 40 odors twice a day to demented older adults, and they found dramatic improvements in their memory on 5 standard memory tests, with improvements ranging up to 300% better than a similar group of demented older adults who didn't get that kind of stimulation. Now, there have been hundreds of clinical trials for various drugs, and none of them come even close to that kind of success. Now, you may be wondering who is going to actually give themselves olfactory stimulation 40 odors a day twice, right? And I've been doing it for quite a while because I want to keep my mind sharp, right? But these findings have come too late for Sandy. But maybe they haven't come too late for you, or your relatives, or the tsunami of older adults who are expected to become demented in the coming years, bringing enormous heartache and bankrupting medical systems around the world. On the other hand, maybe you can imagine a world in which people give themselves olfactory enrichment on a regular basis, thereby preventing or treating memory loss. And in that case, maybe your least important sense can turn out to be your most important sense. Thank you.